Hello, this is Julian with Conscious Mind Dynamics, and today I wanted to talk about a topic that seems to be something that we encounter in everyday life. Now, the way I like to make these videos is just kind of like an ongoing conversation. I don't really have the sense or feeling that I can teach anything, but I have a lot of questions and a lot of ideas that I like to start a conversation on. So what I like to start doing that with today is the concept of love. So love is this word we tend to use a lot, and for the most part it seems to be something that we just use to emphasize attachment or to emphasize pleasure or even attraction. But that's not the way that I would like, or the label we use for those things is not the label or what I'm trying to talk about today. So when I use the label or the word love, what I like to talk about or describe is that thing that has an innate sense of worth or value. So the way that I've recently conceptualized love is more of a state of being, a state of consciousness even, where you feel or you experience intrinsic self-worth, intrinsic value. It's a state where literally it feels like you're enough. So in comparison to how we usually live through our ego or as socially conditioned animals, we find a place where there's no need to add, change, or compensate for in any way. Now, I've experienced that a handful of times in my life, and it's left a lasting impression. It's the only reason I feel that I can really even talk about it is because I've experienced it. So when I hear other people talk about something that seems very similar, I think or I feel that I can recognize it. So whenever I hear either like Ram Dass or Alan Watts or even Rumi, I feel that when they talk about love, or sometimes it's called the High Almighty, even like in Christianity when people talk about the Spirit or being in communion with God, that's the kind of state that it brings to mind. And it's not easy to talk about it because language can be very vague. It's very abstract, and even though it can actually work really well and has served us in the past to describe the external world, when we're trying to describe a subjective experience, or we're trying to describe a state of being or an emotional state or a state of consciousness, it doesn't really serve us as well. It's not descriptive in the way that we need it to be. And to give you an example of what I mean by that is you can take the label love, and then the way that we try to tell people what that is give descriptions of it. So when we say what is love, you say is really enjoying something or someone, being attracted to something or someone, kindness or reverence, respect, idolization. There's all these words we surround what we mean by love as reference points so that other people, once they see the reference points, they'll be able to understand or they'll be able to empathize with what they mean. The problem with that is that love, as I have known it or I've experienced it, can easily be usurped by the socially conditioned or externally validated sense of worth. So I guess the easiest example that can be the most damaging at times is kindness. From a sense of true love that is internally generated, kindness is just the final expression of who we really are. It's an extension of our highest self manifested through us. But when kindness is used to gain self-worth externally or through external validation, it can become very toxic. What ends up happening is you just end up trading one need or one value for another, and kindness turns into lack of self-kindness. And I'm sure you know a lot of people, I've experienced this in my life, where I thought doing things for other people, even at my own expense or at the expense of my own needs, was love, was caring, was the quote-unquote right thing to do. But the why is so much more powerful than the how or the what. I mean, that's really what matters. Why you do something and where it arises or emerges from is going to be really the reason why you want to do something or not. So when it arises of a place of completion or a sense of I am enough, and it's just an extension of wanting to, in the truest sense of the form, charity, to just voluntarily or free-willingly give aid to someone else or even to yourself, then kindness becomes a reference point or a nail in the wall where you can hang this picture and truly see what it is. But like I said before, it can be easily misunderstood. So even if we use several points, so if we were using several nails to hang up a picture so it's right, it can easily be misleading. So I wanted to share with you my experience with what I've labeled as love, how it's been misleading sometimes in my life and it's actually become something toxic, and how I've experienced it in an externally validating way. If you guys have any questions for me, if you have any comments on the concept, or if you could just continue the conversation, I would appreciate it. Thanks again. I'll see you another time.